Hey there, all you video game design students out there. A lot of you are stuck at home, right? It's COVID-19, and there are a lot of you that maybe just have a Chromebook or maybe you have a laptop, but you, for whatever reason, cannot install software and you want to keep making video games. I found a couple drag and drop type game engines, but I discovered over the weekend that there is an awesome code-based, JavaScript-based video game engine called Phaser.io. So in today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use Phaser with CodePen to make a video game without having to install any software at all. So stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so here are the two links that you're going to need. So if all you have is a browser, you're going to want to go to phaser.io. You could also just call it Phaserio. No, Phaser with the ph.io. And then you're going to definitely want a CodePen account, codepen.io or CodePenio. Of course, you can use other online tools like Replit. Anything that allows you to do HTML and JavaScript, you're covered for all that you need. All right, so we're going to go to Phaser. A couple other things you're going to want to do to make sure that this is going to work is check your browser. You're going to want to look at examples. So I'm going to go to examples, and as long as you can click on an example, oh, that's audio. Let me go back. Other examples that have some movement, components, display, demo scene. We'll just take a look at this. So you're going to want to make sure that you see something. Yeah, click to play. All right. So as long as you've got something like that, you can see it playing, you're going to get this to work. All right, so we're going to go to Learn. I'm going to go to the Making Your First Game because that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the tutorial in English. And okay, so this is basically what we're going to make, this little dude jumping around on platforms. Okay, so you can read all the introduction. I'm going to get to the main part. Now, so you want to get here, remember that's under Learn, it's under Making Your First Phaser 3 Game. You're going to want to go to CodePen and you're going to want to create an account. Now, if you don't have one yet, but you have Twitter or GitHub or Facebook, just use one of those. Or you can create a, you can sign up with email. So I'm just going to log in using, well, I've already got my own account. I did by email. And so I'm going to go to my dashboard and let me just show you, I've created, if you notice, one thing about CodePen is you can create these pens, and I have this phaser.io template. I'll show you that in a moment. But what you can do is when you create an account and you create a new pen, I'm going to show you the template first of all. You're going to see some HTML here and CSS, there's nothing there, and then JavaScript. So this is like the bare bones code you're going to need for the JavaScript in order to make a game. Okay, so let's walk you through a little intro to CodePen so you know kind of how this works. You've got some tags here. Now here's the thing. In my video tutorial, I'm going to share this CodePen. It is public, so you'll be able to get it and just take this right away. Let me just walk through a little bit about what's going on here. This is a main tag. It has a class of container, and I'm doing that because I might want to style the background of the page and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure all you really need is a div, like you see down here, that has an ID of Phaser3 main view, just like that. And then this is the tag that the game is going to go inside of. Okay, so at the very least, you're going to want probably that right there. But just you can go ahead and use this here. CSS, we're not doing, actually, we are doing one little thing. And as I went down here and I typed in MILL, and I used this milligram, and that allowed my text to display this way instead of ugly Times New Roman like a browser would do if you had no other styles. So I did do that. I add that it was milligram, and you just type it out, milligram, and you can use anything you want. When you click it, it's going to add a link down here. And what this is doing is it's linking to an online site that has all the CSS code that allows you to, that changes the way your text looks on the page and things you can do like centering items and stuff like that. Okay, so that was the CSS. And then JavaScript, and this is key here, is you're going to need this link, and this link goes to phaser-arcadephysics.min.js, and it's this CDN JS deliver blah blah blah. Okay, so you're going to need that link, and I could post that link in the YouTube channel under the video if you want that link. Now, one of the things I have set this up, let me just show you, it's under behavior. On behavior, I turned off auto updating preview. And the reason why I did that is if this is on and you're starting to work on your JavaScript code, you can type about up to maybe a word or two before suddenly it tries to save it and it refreshes the browser automatically. And it just makes it a lot more difficult. So my recommendation is you turn off auto updating preview. And then that way, but what you're going to have to do to test out your game is you're going to have to click save, and then you're going to have to click run to do it. So let's walk you through the JavaScript, what's going on here. We have this is a configuration setup here, and this is a config, is where basically, let's zoom in on this code a little bit here so you can sort of see it. We're saying, okay, what is this? Well, our type is it's phaser.auto, and that means we're it's the system that it's using for the is it a canvas it's using or something else. Auto just will automatically detect what it needs. Don't worry about that. Notice there is a comma here. I'm not asking you to hand type this out because you can actually get this from the tutorial. I'll show you in a moment. We can set the width and the height of the screen, and you can see on the width and the height when I go at 100% view, the height is a little higher than we have here. So I had zoomed out a little bit so you can sort of see it. Okay, I'm going to go back to 100% view for now. And then we're telling it, we have a scene, and in scene we're going to preload, and you're going to see this preload matches this function here, create matches this function here, and update matches this function here. So preload is where you're going to preload all of your assets like sound files, graphics, and stuff. So it's going to store it in memory so they can use it later. Create is what do you want to have happen at the beginning of the game when it first runs. After everything has been loaded up, it runs create. So this is like setting some variables, things like that. And then finally it's update, and this is the game loop. And so this is going to be looping over and over again. All right, so that's this is the basically the template for any Phaser game. We're going to be working almost entirely in JavaScript here. Another thing, let's see if I put it in here. No, I didn't. Okay. I'm going to add a little comment here for assets because I think it's going to be really important here. And I'm going to just do it right here. I'm going to do the comment here for assets. Go to. All right, now I got to go find it. Give me a moment and I'll bring it up. Okay, after a lot of searching, I found it. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last before it gets blocked, but this is a website. Let me just show you this. I'm going to just go over here. This is the link. They probably did not intend for us to have access directly to here, but they left it open because they didn't put an index.html in here. And because they didn't, we have access to all of this stuff in here. All right, so examples.phaser.io assets. All the assets that are needed for the various examples are in there. Another thing, and this is because you're going to need to get direct access to some of these images. Part of the tutorial shows some of the images you're going to need. The other thing you can do is you can just copy the image address and use it in there as well. Okay, enough about that. We're going to go ahead and go through this tutorial now. Okay, so before you go through the tutorial, what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to click Run. There's really not anything for us to see here because we haven't really done any real code. We've just got it all set up. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this, and you're going to want to basically make a fork of it. So let me zoom out just a little bit here. Oh, down there is the button that says Fork. And you click fork and it basically makes a copy of it that you can work on. Okay, so let me go back to the dashboard and clean this up just a little bit, and then I will proceed. Okay, so we went from phaser.io template. We're going to just call this platformer. phaser.io platformer. And then you're going to write, oops, we don't write it in here, we write it over here, platformer. And then now we're going to hit save, hit run. So you have to save it and then run it, and then you get the change. Okay. All right, so we've got that ready to go. Let's do our tutorial, making your first game. So some of this stuff I've already kind of walked you through a little bit here. So it talks about requirements. Now you could download this and you can run it in a browser, but there's a lot of extra stuff you're going to have to do. And for our case, for now, later on, maybe when we finish this, I'll do a tutorial on how to do this if you want to download it yourself and work on your own computer. And this is just kind of one way of doing it. Okay, we already talked about width and height, scenes, all that good stuff. So we're going to jump to the next one. I was a little confused. I had a hard time explaining the last part. Let me just show you this one real quick thing here. The phaser.auto could be phaser.canvas or WebGL or auto, which will just render it the way it needs to. Okay, we're going to go to the next part. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to load our assets. Okay, so to load it, we're going to go into the preload function and we're going to do a this.load.image. Now I'm going to copy this because I want to show you the syntax of what this looks like. And I don't need to change that there. So I'm going to go into here. And remember, this is under the preload, and I already got a link there. I'm going to go in here, this.load.image, and then sprite, comma, src. All right. Now what this is about is the sprite is what we're going to name it, and it's kind of like a game object, and then the src is the path where we got it. So I'm even going to go ahead and copy this right here. So this is sort of the format. Now I'm going to kind of zoom in on this so that it's a little easier for you to read. And so what are we going to do? Well, let's take a look at each of these. There is sky, ground, star, bomb, and a dude, which is going to be a sprite sheet. So this is going to be a little bit different. And then we're going to have inside of here one other thing. Because it is a sprite sheet, we're going to have this thing called a frame width and a frame height. And so I'm just going to copy all of this and replace the other, what I had. So copy and paste is okay as long as you kind of understand what it is you're doing. Sometimes pasting sometimes hand typing actually will be a little bit better. Now you have a sky, platform, star, bomb, and a dude. They're all PNG files, which means they have transparent backgrounds, which is always handy. Now we're going to have to find the links to all of these, and this is one of those challenges, okay? So if we go to this assets and we're looking for assets/sky, we might have some trouble. So here's what I recommend we do. Let's see if we can find the images by themselves on here, and we can. So if you're at this tutorial, just right click and copy the image address. That's what you want. And then you're going to go over here, and instead of assets/sky.png, just delete that so you see the single quotes, paste it in, and now you're going to have that sky there. Now, if I were to save and run this, you might think the sky is going to appear, and you'll notice it doesn't. And the reason why the sky doesn't appear is we've preloaded it. All right, we've preloaded it. It's in there somewhere. We just haven't done anything with it. So I just wanted to remind you of that. So now we're going to get the platform, the dude. So we're going to work our way through it. So we're going to look for the platform. Now there's no platform here. So we're going to have to find where that platform is and hope that it's somewhere by itself. Now I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to paste this in. No, that was not what I was going to paste in. I was going to get the link to this, copy image address. I'm going to paste it in here. Oh, it was part3.png. Oh, interesting. It's not working. Okay, all right. So I might not be able to find. We're going to look and see if we can see all the other assets by themselves. That's what I'm looking for. See, there's the ground, but they're not by themselves. Oh, there it is. Okay, see, if we're just patient and we dig a little bit, we'll find it all. So we already know that's the ground, so we're just going to highlight all of that. And it is called platform. So I wonder if we can get all this to work. So notice what I did is I highlighted the HTTPS all the way to there. Since the platform is the same, I wonder if we can do the same thing for the star. How will I know it works? Well, I can copy all this and I can paste it here and see if the image appears. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, so we're going to have to figure out where that one is. We're looking for the star. Oh, there's the dude. I'm going to go ahead and copy the dude now. Copy image address. Go back over here. All right, we got the dude. We just don't have a bomb or a star. Well, let's see if we can find the star, and I'll show you where it is. I found it. It is in demo scene. Demo scene. If you go down here, there it is, star. This may or may not be the star they were using in the game, but it would work. And so I'm going to go ahead and use this. And then later on, I might change it. And if you can find another image of star online and you want to do it, you can do it that way too. And then we need a bomb. We're going to need a bomb, so I'll see if I can find that. Okay, I'm pretty sure what I did is I went to sprites, and down towards the bottom is this Xenon 2 bomb. No, that was not the one I was thinking about. Thought I saw a bomb up here somewhere. No, that's boom. All right, I think I found the bomb. It took me a while. Under the assets, there's a folder called Particle Storm. And in there, in particles, there just so happens to be a bomb. So that's the bomb. We're going to make this be our bomb. It's not the same bomb as that was in the tutorial, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to copy that. I'm going to go find now I cheat a little bit. This is where we're heading towards. So let me go back to the one I was working on, which is this one. Nope, that's the wrong one. The one before it. Must be this one. Here we go. All right, so we have this .load.image bomb, and then here's the full link to it. Now the nice thing is that when we want to access the image of sky, we have the name here. So sky, ground, star, bomb, and dude, which we already got. Now I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. Sometimes you notice the tabbing is off on here because I did a little copy and paste. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to do this format JavaScript, and that's going to kind of line it all up and format it. So now it's formatted it to be a little bit more readable. So like for example, sky is on this line, and then the address to where that image happens to be is over there. Okay, so now we've got all of our preload going. Okay, so we did our introduction. We are on this page here. We just did this code. Okay, so it loads in 5 assets, 4 images, and a sprite sheet. Okay, so at this point, we haven't displayed anything. So we're going to go into the create function. We're going to add the sky. And it's this .add.image, and then you're going to give it an X, a Y, and then whatever you named that image. All right, now I'm just going to copy this here, and I'm going to go over here, and like I said, it's in the create function. By the way, to clean some of this up, where it says function preload, you see how it takes up all that space? If I hover over, there's a little triangle there. If I click it, I can hide that temporarily so that I kind of get that out of the way. And I'm going to paste this .add.image. We're adding the sky. And I'm going to go over here, and we're not going to see it till I save it, and then I run it. Now we should be able to see the sky. There it is. Okay, so it's working. All right, so now that's a proof of concept that this thing is going to work. Okay, so we got the sky. So what's this 400 comma 300? Okay, this is where we are positioning our sky. And this right here is referring to where, like we have this big giant image, and where we're going to position it. Um, you have to understand that the image sky has what's called an origin. And the origin is the point where we're placing the image relative to the image. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But the origin of any image that you preload is going to be the dead center of that image, right in the middle of the image. So we're saying when we place our sky, it's where we're placing the center of the sky. So because our game is 800 pixels wide, to get to the center, we have to go to 400. That moves it over 400 to the, it's going to move it over to the right by 400, and it's going to move it down 300. So that is 400, 300 is dead center of the width and the height right there. And then we load the sky. So that's the first part. We got our sky. And we're going to go down, and there's where it talks about the 400, 300. Now, if we want to move the origin, if you've worked with any other game engines, there are some game engines where you can set the origin. And if we wanted to, we could have done a this.add.image, and we could have given it 0, 0 sky, but then we can set the origin after, and that basically the origin of 0, 0 is the upper left-hand corner of any image. And then we would say, take the upper left-hand corner and put it in the upper left-hand part of the screen. Okay, so these numbers always represent where the screen is. So let's go ahead and test it out and just see if we can kind of prove that this works. The first thing I'll show you is I'll give you a 0 and a 0 here without setting the origin. We save it, we run it, and you're going to notice we're only seeing the upper left-hand corner of that image. Okay, so then we put a dot and it's set origin, and we're going to go 0, 0. I think that's how we want to do it. And I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it, and it should be centered again. There it is. Okay, so set origin is, it's basically where on the image do we do everything. Now this origin, if we were to rotate our image, like let's say we want something rotating, we're going to do it with JavaScript, we're going to rotate it. It's going to rotate around the origin, so keep that in mind when you're doing your work. All right, so there is our image. We've got our sky in place. And let's go ahead and add a star. And I'm just going to copy that right there. I'm going to leave the add origin the way I had it because I think that's kind of interesting. We're not going to do anything with the origin. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we add our star. And it should be dead center on the screen. There's the star. Okay, not what I expected the star to look like. So we may look for other stars later. But I want to show you one last important concept. When you go to the create function and you're adding images, this is sort of like adding stuff to the background or putting stuff in place. If we were to do the star first and then do the sky, and we're to run it, suddenly it would seem like the star is gone. It's not really gone. It's just that it put it on the screen first and then it added the sky second, so the sky just covered it all. So I'm going to do a Control Z, and get back to where we were, save, run again. So it's really important the layering that you do, how you set that. All right, let's see if we can do the next step. So we put the star first, it covers up by the sky. We put the star second, so we should be good. When we do the this.add.image, we're creating a new image game object, and we're adding it to the scene's display list. You can position the image anywhere. Phaser doesn't mind. If it's outside of 00 to 800 by 600, you're never going to see it. It'll be considered off scene or off screen, but it'll still be there. Sort of like behind the scene, as they say. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the create function. We added the sky, and now we're going to do some extra code to talk about. Okay, so we're going to add some physics called static group, and Physics means we're going to use what's called an arcade physics system. So it's like arcade games is what we're going to do. But before we can do it, we need to set the physics in our configuration file. So any configuration is separated with a comma. You'll see this is sort of, you could consider this a variable, colon, and then a value. Technically, this would be considered a property, and that would be considered its value. And so what kind of physics are we going to do? We're going to do the default arcade physics, and we're going to set a gravity of y, which is going to basically make things fall if they have normal physics being applied. And we're going to turn debug off, which is why it says debug false. So basically, I want to copy all of that code, and we're going to add it to our config. All right, that's up here. It was right here. Paste it in. I'm going to format it, which is going to kind of clean it up, which means I'm going to want to like hide the preload again. But just so you know, it's physics, default arcade with a gravity, a y, so things are falling. 300 must just be the type of gravity, the weight of gravity. I'm not entirely sure how that plays out. You can read the full thing in here. Okay, so that gives us some physics. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, oh, I remember now. Okay, so we're going to add some platforms. And we're going to do a series of platforms. And we're going to group them because we're going to have a bunch of platforms. And we're going to make them static. And what that means is it's like static electricity. It's just there. It doesn't do anything. Something that's static just stays in place, and that's what we want. We want our platforms to basically stay in place. So our physics, this is basically going to keep our platforms from falling. So what I think would be fun to do is have some platforms that fall. So we're going to create all these and see if we can get the platforms to fall, and then we'll see if we can stop them from falling by adding them to the static group. So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but it'll be fun to try anyway. Don't you think? Ooh, but we're going to have that this dot add. That is going to cause a problem. Let's see if the star falls before we do anything else. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it and just see what happens with that star. Nope, it doesn't fall. So maybe we just haven't added the physics to it. Okay, so we're going to go to function create. And let me just, I really like to play around with this stuff. This dot physics dot add. I just want to jump because when we get to the dude's going to fall. So I'm really curious. This is kind of breaking it down. Dude. Yeah, we're going to have to get physics dot add sprite. So instead of, okay. All right. And let me just go back to links. Like I said, I like to play with this stuff a little bit. Got our physics. I'm going to just do a platform. And I'm just really curious. I'm going to do a 400, 300, and I'm just going to do a platform. And I'm just really curious if I can get this thing to work. This would be fun. Yeah, there it goes. All right, I got it to work. Okay, so we can have platforms that fall because it's physics.add, and we didn't make it a static group. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and create all this stuff, walk you through it, and we'll test it out, just make sure it works. And I'm going to add a little comment. So we have this here. I'm going to put add our static non-moving platforms. Paste that in. And I'm going to tidy it up formatting my JavaScript, and I'm going to hide all the ones I don't want to see, and we'll just kind of walk through here. All right. So we're going to do a group of physics items, and they're going to be static, which means the gravity won't apply to them. So we're going to create a ground one. Oh, and ground is what we called it. Did we call it that in the preload? Let's just make sure we did. Yes, we called it ground. Okay, great. And set scale is its size. So if we give it a number 2, we're going to make it twice as big. In fact, let me just cut these out for a moment and save it and run it so you can see the ground. There's the ground at the bottom. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see how thick it is. All right, and then we're going to paste the rest in. I'm going to save and run. And now you're going to see a bunch of other platforms. So you notice how that was twice as big. Each platform is half the width of the screen. So it's helpful for you to know that. And let's go back and zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, so when we set our platforms, this is the ground. And I'll make a little comment. And then these are our levitating platforms. Okay, so platforms.create 600, 400. That's, remember, the origin, and that's where we're putting the center of it. This is 600 pixels to the right, 400 pixels down. That's actually the far right one down here. And then we have one that's 50 pixels off to the right and 250 pixels down. That would be this one. And because it's 50 to the right, this thing is actually, remember, half the width of the screen. So it's just, you're seeing a little bit more than half of it over here. And then this one is 750 pixels way off to the right, actually off the scene, but only 220 pixels down. So it's over there. And so now we have our platforms. We've got a little star, which I'm going to try to find a better looking star next time. But I think at this point, we're kind of done. Now, a lot of my students have been doing this thing called the phrase that pays. And I actually have not told you what the phrase that pays are. Now I'm going to. There are 3 phrases that pay. And guess what they are? They are all of my comments that you can find on the create function. So this is the first one. This is the second one. This is the third one. Those are our 3 phrases that pay. Add our static non-moving platforms, the ground, levitating platforms. And at this point, we've got a good start to our game. And the next time I present, we're going to add the dude. And we're going to see if we can get our dude to fall. He might fall all the way to the ground, and then we're going to have him fall to the platform, and maybe we'll even start animating our dude. And thus, we end part 1 of our tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.